Hello, I'm Vinzer Flinn, and welcome back to the Book of Flinn. And with me, as always, is a person who just tonight told me she'd rather drive than fly, but she'd rather fly than boat. Spoken like a Newfoundlander who does not want to take the ferry, it's Reigna Flinn.
It's 100% true. I like the ferry, but I really don't at the same time. Like, it's cool in theory, but not in practice.
It's fun once.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we got an email from Halcon that finally gave us the vendor map placement, so I know where I'm going to be, and a few other Flinns on the map. So Halcon is sort of on the radar for everybody, especially for cosplay building. I know I'm shifting into helmet build mode like crazy here very quickly. Reigna, you are working on a cool new cosplay.
I am. It's my first original design. I kind of came up with the concept after you had seen a medieval knighted like style Iron Man metal suit, and I started thinking, well, what would the Captain Marvel one be like? And I decided to mash her up with Joan of Arc. So I used a lot of inspiration from that. I'm kind of mashing it all together, and it's going to be like a suit of armor. So it's going to be like a suit of knight armor, and I'm really excited about it. I'm doing a lot of things I've never done before. So,
and given that I'm in the next room, I'm getting cool inside look at the progress, and it's looking pretty awesome. So I can't wait to see it. And Merida is doing a similar idea, Marvel Scarlet Witch, and there's a plan. Well, a bunch of us have signed on to this, but it's just not going to happen for a bunch of us this year. But I wanted to do that Iron Man suit, but now I'm sort of waiting to see what they do with Doom, because I'm like, maybe I can knock out two birds with one stone here.
And Victor wants to do a rogue Spider-Man style cosplay, so I
think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be really intriguing. He's already talking about that for next year, but I'm trying to get him to focus on the one he's doing this year. So stay tuned. Marvel of Arc will be seeing you at HalCon 2024.
All right, ready to continue our journey?
Absolutely.
Hit it.
Okay. We are starting with the window I cannot open properly. One moment, please. Season 2, Episode 6, Weapons Factory. I just have to say, the thought that goes into some of the titles of these names is just mind-blowing. Like, what could this possibly mean?
Was this the working title in the script when they came up with it? I don't know. Just call it Weapons Factory. Like, not Assault at the Weapons Factory, nothing cool. Just Weapons Factory.
If you look at it, maybe I should look at these episode titles like, hey, do you remember the story with the weapons factory? And it's like, hey, do you remember that time we landed on this port? And it's kind of like the prompt into the story, maybe. I don't know, because you said that these were kind of like a collection of war stories, so taking it in that context.
Yeah, when you put it that way, yeah, I buy that.
No gift is more precious than trust. I made a prediction, even though I knew what this episode was going to be about, because Gloomy basically said it in the last episode. But the trust aspect, when you bring in the quote, is going to be Gloomy has trust issues. Shock, gasp, ah. That is such a brand new information.
You wonder if they're getting these quotes from the fortune cookies when they're going to lunch across the street or something when they're writing this.
They're literally just like, what did everybody get in their fortune cookie today? Ah, perfect, we'll pick that one.
No gift is more precious than trust. Lucky number is 71382.
No gift is more precious than trust in bed.
When they're going to slip up more of these episodes is going to be titled Your Fortune is in Another Cookie.
We're joined by Luminara Unduli, which I love saying her name, and her Padawan. Okay, I don't know what it actually is, but I went with Barriss Sophie.
That's pretty
what
close.
It sounded like.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Barriss Offie.
I just end up calling her Badass Barriss throughout this entire thing.
There you go.
Yeah. And the droid factory is nearing completion, which kind of answers my question about whether, when we saw it back when Padme was seducing Luke Perry for information, what was the Luke Perry's name, just for continuity's sake?
Clovis.
Thank you. Right, Cloves. Basically, Luminara is coming in for a assist to Gloomy's party, so she's landing near there, and we cut over to Ahsoka leading the briefing, and I say leading with air quotes, because essentially through this entire scene, I just want to, like, you ever see that scene of Golden Girls where she's about to say something and Dorothy just comes over and just grabs her by the mouth and just pulls her back?
Oh, the old wrap around hand around Sophia before she could say something.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to do to Gloomy this entire scene.
Oh, yeah.
Just shut up. He basically keeps cutting in this entire time and cutting her off midsection when she's trying to talk about, like, the key areas that they need to focus on. And he's like, oh, don't forget to charge up your cell phone and bring snacks. Was that worthy of the interruption? Was that worthy of you basically railroading this entire briefing and just bulldozing it in for your own thing because you have control issues? Get over yourself.
Very self-important.
Oh my gosh. I was so mad. I was like, I believe Ahsoka had the floor, and that's when I would just be like, come here, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
Now, did you notice that there was a quick moment where the clones kind of looked at each other like they were recognizing that Anakin was talking over Ahsoka, and it's like they see it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a little comment here about the side eye because they're just like, oh, here goes Gloomy again, bulldozing in on another briefing. It seems like this kind of thing happens a lot. She's trying to lay the groundwork. He's talking about rations. Gloomy is just, I'm going to keep calling him Jedi Xander if he just keeps this up, thinking he knows everything and just kind of stepping on everyone's toes. She even respectfully calls him out. He still cuts her off mid-sentence.
He doubles down on it.
About how he wasn't interrupting. But he literally interrupts to say he wasn't interrupting. Like, the mansplaining level of frustration I feel is... anyways, my caps lock is going to be abused this entire episode.
I'm back to not liking Anakin. I liked him last episode. Now I don't like him again.
She continues to claim that he doesn't trust her in the briefing, and he's like, I just don't trust you to do it right. And she goes, that's so you just admit it, like, you don't trust me to do it right. He goes, that's not what I said. It's like, you literally...
She got so worked up, she knocked her mic over. Take it easy.
You literally said those words. Those exact words. And she repeats them, like, whatever, I'm over it. Just go fly into a volcano. Reinforcements arrive, and Luminara's like spilling tea with her Padawan, being like, check out these guys, they're arguing again, and they're kind of, you know, these are the rebels, like, these are the rogue ones, just watch yourself with those.
Did it feel like when Luminara showed up, it was like an adult was in the room finally?
Yeah, I felt a shocking lack of adults in this entire episode. I think Luminara and Rex were like the sighing parents who had to deal with the rebelling teenage son and the overachieving twin teenage daughters. I really like Barriss and Ahsoka throughout this entire episode. Luminara kind of brings the focus back around with the mission instead of their squabble. And when Barriss introduced herself to Ahsoka, she bows. And I'm like, is this a seniority ranking within the Padawans? Or is it like a thing from wherever Barriss is from?
It might be that Ahsoka's got more time in the field or something. I don't know if she really outranks her per se, but to me, it felt like Barriss was used to the not being in those dirty front lines where, you know, she bows and Ahsoka's all battle hardened at this point already. And she's like, yeah, well, how you doing? You know, like.
Ahsoka dresses like later seasons Buffy when she goes patrolling. Barriss dresses like Buffy season 1 or season 2. It feels very impractical what she's wearing. I know it's probably her own garb and such, but still. Although I really like her face tats with like the Harley Quinn-esque diamonds. Very cool freckle diamonds.
She and Luminara are Miri Allens, which is, I think, it's a playable race in Old Republic, you might remember, but they all have the markings like that. We actually have Flinn character who's a Miri Allen, and they all have those really cool, unique face tattoo. I don't know if they're tattoos or they occur naturally, but they're very cool either way.
I like them. They remind me of freckles, so I call them like diamond freckles. They're very cool. Luminara and all of them are at the planning station, kind of getting a game plan together of the best way to approach this factory. And Gloomy's like, well, just a frontal assault. Let's just go and do this. And And Luminara's like, but the body count, though. And he's like, oh, well, sometimes that's just the best thing.
He said he did everything except say the whole if you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs line. Like,
yeah. Luminara's like, what about the bottom of this hologram? The whole network of tunnels. Just this whole section that they were ignoring just opens right up. I was with Gloomy for a little bit on this until I realized that Luminara has Rain Man for a Padawan where she memorized all 200 junctions.
Imagine getting that homework. Here, memorize this. We're on our way. What?
What? Right? Okay.
Oh, that might be one of her Jedi talents, though. Like, Jedi will often exhibit special talents. Hers might be an eidetic memory. I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
Right? But Gloomy goes, we could get lost. And I was kind of with him on that until Luminara was like, oh, Barriss has got this. And I thought that the way they split up the teams was very interesting. It was almost like Luminara was like, I want to see what Gloomy can do, and I want to see what Ahsoka's capable of. It almost felt like she was kind of checking in on them in the field.
Right.
I don't know. I just got weird vibes because to split them up when the teams are usually so well at working closely together, you think that it would be like, okay, Gloomy, you want to do the full frontal assault plan, so I go to call that the distraction parade. And then you can have Luminara and Barriss, who have been studying the tunnels, go and do that. I just thought the split was really strange.
No, you're absolutely right. The only reason it makes sense is because of the plot. But yeah, why would they do that otherwise?
Yeah, the only thing I could think of was that Luminara was keeping an eye on, like, Obi-Wan was like, can you go check in on him, make sure he's, not doing anything stupid.
I can see them sending their Padawans during missions and stuff, but this one seemed a little high stakes to, all right, we're going to do a little pop quiz. You two go do this, right? Like,
they come up with the statement, there's pays to be prepared. And it's like, especially when other people's lives depend on your success. And I thought this was a really nice dig from Luminara at Gloomy about his plans and just kind of winging it. And then I'm like, the clone troopers. I'm choosing to believe that they're also taking them into account when it comes to the high casualty rate, because Gloomy sure doesn't, like, at all.
No.
So they realize they need a diversion, which is what Luminara and Gloomy are going to go do. Gloomy doesn't trust Ahsoka to get the job done. Again. Because no one can do anything dangerous successfully only when it's him or it's his plan, while Luminara has the utmost faith in her Padawan. Like, the trust is there. Luminara calls out Gloomy after the Padawans left, and Gloomy's like, oh, I trust her, but he doesn't seem like he really believes what he says, and he seems really hesitant, like he's holding something back. And then he just dismisses her and leaves. Like, okay, I guess we're just not going to talk about this. Gloomy goes on to launch out his distraction parade, which was the main plan of just a full frontal assault with all the guns and just picking off drones and clone troopers one by one. We cut over to the factory, and I was really upset to see the return of the monkey middle management droid.
Oh, I know. I hate these guys.
They're the most conniving ones of all of them.
They're programmed to be pricks.
I hate these guys, which is exactly what middle management would be. They're talking about how they're gonna have super tanks, but they're not ready yet. And I was like, super tanks? They couldn't come up with a better name. The same person who named super tanks named this episode, I'm sure of it.
From the makers of Super Battle Droids, it's Super Tanks.
In an episode called Weapons Factory. What could it ever be about? Stay tuned. Luminara and Gloomy are heading up the distraction parade. And we've got the team bomb.com, and they're going to be going in through the tunnels.
That's good.
The middle management droid has a trap, though. He's just like, they're falling into the trap. And then the Geonosians are all in the rock formations behind them. So basically, Distraction Parade has turned into a Distraction Fest, and it's surrounded. Bomb.com has Badass Barriss, and Amazing Ahsoka. They're making way through the tunnels, and they come across a couple Geonosians, and then they come past an entire tunnel of sleeping Geonosians.
Nope.
Such a horror movie trope, because these guys, the way that they draw them, and I found the way that they drew or computerized some of the graphics, kind of gave it like a really quick moving, like, those horror movie tropes where the thing moves a little too quickly.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
There were a
It's
few
ramped up.
moments. Yeah, a few moments in this episode, not just with the Genosians, where this actually happened, and I'll try to see if I can point it out when the other one happens. Ahsoka's like, are we gonna go this way or should we go around? And Barriss is like, no, we're just gonna go. We're just gonna go this way because I don't know any other way because I only memorized the one way of the 200 junctions. She said 200 junctions, so I just memorized the ones I needed.
Yeah, I memorized three turns and I got lost 2 turns ago.
Exactly. One of them sleepily lays its hand on Barriss's head by accident. Like, what a weird adjustment. And Ahsoka's like gingerly picks up the hand and then they leave, but it does wake up the Genosian, who I kind of think is like, did I just dream that? Is this real life? The only thing we really need to know about what's going on over at the distraction parade is that Gloomy is just kind of going, oh, I don't know if they're going to make it. Oh, I hope they're not lost. Oh, they're probably lost by now. Like, shut up, Debbie Downer.
Where's the trust, Anakin? It's kind of the theme of the episode.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like Gloomy has control and trust issues. Huh, shocker. Anyways, over with the important people. Ahsoka has the negative Nancy energy, so she's attuned to her Jedi Master for sure. And Barriss, who's trying to get her bearings.
Ugh, I suppose that was inevitable.
Yeah, it did.
You smiled and paused for effect there.
Pun dog face. They continue up to the factory while, unbeknownst to them, they're still being followed. And the parade outside has the Amodillos come up, and this is the other part where I noticed they whizzed in really fast, a lot faster than they usually do in the graphics. They were kind of doing like a herky-jerky, I don't know, maybe it was just the cut that I have of whatever I'm watching, but it kind of had a weird horror movie aspect to it. Kind of reminded me of the Genosian movement. I don't know if that was a choice or if that was just my cut. I have no idea. We cut over to Boggle, who I kept calling Pogo and Boggle throughout this entire thing. I kept switching back and forth.
Oh, it's Poggle.
Boggle's getting frustrated with the turn of events, and the middle management droids, it's just like, let's use the secret weapons. We have some. And I was like, is this the super tanks they said weren't ready 5 minutes ago? Yep, sure is.
Yeah, we just got the treads on there. Okay, good to go.
And I kind of hoped that they would look as derpy as the monkey droids, but no, they actually look like the gladiators' carts that they would ride the horses in. That's what they reminded me of, the super tanks.
Chariots?
Yeah, that's it, chariots. That tarot card that I should know.
They looked like big armored snails or something to me.
Middle management droid keeps calling Boggle Lord. Is Boggle a Sith, or is it like a planetary title?
I think that's just his title on his world there.
Okay. Distraction parade. They get the super tanks on board, and we have Gloomy's like, all right, Rex, take them out. They try to take them out, and they can't. They don't even make a dent, which, much to Harry and Marv's excitement, I was really excited. I actually did a little arm pump when these two droids showed up on the screen. I was like, yes, I did get my Harry and Marv. I've been missing it.
They were riding high in that tank.
Yeah. And apparently they have shielding, which that will play into an important thing later, I'm sure. Bomb.com squad has... I'm sorry, I don't know if you just heard the...
I heard something.
6 sneezes that just came out of Willow. Are you okay, baby girl? We interrupt this broadcast with a sneezing fit from Salt and Pepper over here. All right. At the catacombs, they've reached the base of the droid factory. And they're like, all right, let's go to the main control room. And the Genosian busts in on Boggle and Eminem over there. And he's just like, guys, there's 2 Jedi in here. And this is where I talk about the Eminem droid. He's like, impossible. Well, obviously it's possible, douchebag. They're right there.
I want someone to have a natural reaction to that news. There's 2 Jedi in the basement. What?
These droids are the most pompous, and I'm so over them, and I just can't. So I just want to ignore them because they always think that they're right. And it reminds me of Technofest, where he's like, remember that episode where we had the DJ and he just wanted to have the Technofest? They had a middle monkey droid on there too, and he was like, always thought that everything he thought of was going to happen. He thought of every scenario, and then it's like, kidding, there's wildlife coming to attack you.
Yeah, strategist droids, they are not.
No. But they think they are. It's like,
yeah,
whoever programmed them actually forgot to put the strategizing algorithms in there. They're like, I know I am right because I can analyze this. And they're like, ooh, kind of forgot that programming.
It's like they programmed in the prickish attitude and the arrogance, and they went to lunch and actually forgot to load the military strategy files. Send them out, boys. It's got a bunch of pricks who don't know what they're doing.
Now we just have a bunch of middle management dude bros that are walking around thinking that they're right and correcting everybody.
Trust me, brah, this is gonna work. Boom.
Trust me, brah, this is gonna work. Boggle bursts into the main control room as Ahsoka and Barriss are setting up the detonators. And Boggle's like, collect the detonators first and then kill the Jedi. And I was like, anybody else confused about this order?
Oh, that was like verging up on the Monty Python. Not to leave the room until you come and get them. You know, like what?
Yeah. And then get the tea. Ahsoka throws a detonator at the super tank, and middle management's like, ha ha ha, that won't do anything to it, and then gets his head blown off.
Guess they didn't program in the survival circuits either.
No stratagem whatsoever, because he's just like, haha, I'm 3 feet from a bomb, should be fine.
Maybe he's just downloading into all the other robots around the galaxy. He's like, I'll be fine. I'm out.
Oh, so anyways, he gets his head blown off, so I don't need to talk in that voice anymore. Ahsoka sees the detonators being removed, and she jumps on the one who's flying up, so she falls hard, and she gets knocked out.
Yeah.
And the Geonosians run back into the tunnel, and they're like, nah, bye, and they like, till we meet again, and then they like slam the door shut and run away.
We'll meet again, Spider-Man.
And Barriss is with the super tank. Super tank, it's super tanky. And a stirring Ahsoka. I had to do it once. I'm sorry, that song was stuck in my head. Over at the distraction parade, we have Gloomy, who's got like, all right, guys, new plan. We're going to lead all the super tanks onto the bridge, and then we're going to blow up the bridge.
There's always a fucking bridge.
A wee bridge where you have to like bottleneck onto it. Like, what?
In season 2 of Clone Wars, what have we been over and blown up like 12 bridges?
The trolls are so mad. Bridge wars. Super tanks are coming across the bridge, and Gloomy and Luminara are like spidering around underneath, just setting up all these charges. When Gloomy sets off the explosions, we get one last scene from Harry and Marv where they're like, uh-oh, roger, roger.
Signing off. See you in the next body, Marv.
I was like, see you next time, you two. Oh my goodness. They're concerned about the Padawans because they're like, they really should have caught up to us already. And the doors open and there's more droids coming out. As we cut over to the main control room, and badass Barriss just jumps onto the super tank and like makes her own door and just jumps into the tank, and then we get a bonus Harry and Marv who were like, oh no, where'd she go? And she's already inside, like taking their heads off.
The screams of terror that got cut off of these droids was fucking visceral, man. Like, it's like those poor droids. Harry and Marv probably downloaded into them, but oh shit.
Barriss gains control of the super tank, and Ahsoka are like, okay, no bombs, what do? And it just flashed back to this Doctor Who episode with K9, and and he's like, we are in a car. They're trying to figure out a way to break into the building, and he's like, we are in a car. So they realize that they're in a thing that could shoot explosions. So they're gonna blow the controls, and they're like, all right, guys, Gloomy, sorry about this. Thanks for everything. And Gloomy's like, wait, what? No. And Luminara Seems like she's giving up, or she does to Gloomy. I thought she just sat down to see if she could sense them anywhere, like what a normal Jedi would do, you freak. Rex turns up with the tank lifters, and he's like, all right, we're going to start moving some stuff around. Because Ahsoka and Barriss actually live. Ahsoka spends the time reconnecting, basically hot wiring her communicator in order to shoot off like kind of a space Morse code signal to Gloomy. And that's how Gloomy kind of locates them and stuff. But he basically, this entire time that they're looking for Ahsoka, he's basically berating Luminara for not caring enough. This is where we can really see that dark side, emotional kind of thing take over again when he's really emotional about losing somebody, because he does have a very visceral connection to certain people in his life.
Exactly, that's it right there. Luminara was actually being a pretty textbook Jedi. She's like, I don't want to lose my Padawan. I will do everything to save her, but if she goes, it's the will of the Force, and I will accept that. So she's like practicing the very, the non-attachment thing that they're all about. But that's Anakin is attached, right?
Yeah, this is the biggest red flag that they really should have watched a bit closer. Because, I mean, he has a secret wife. I use air quotes because they decide to yell it whenever they're at their Coruscant. Luminara's like, I get it. If she's gone, I will accept that and I will celebrate her life. And he's just like, you don't even care. Like, you just don't even care. And that's all I got from him this entire time.
He's ruled by his passions, whereas the typical Jedi are completely, calm and passive, and they're like Vulcans. They almost seem like they don't care, right? So.
This highlights possibly why Gloomy is so overbearing on Ahsoka. He doesn't have the same trust that Luminara does. He definitely has a deeper connection with Ahsoka, and that's his downfall, but I don't think he trusts her on a fundamental level. Luminara's like, your master never lost faith. And I'm like, excuse me?
He never had it.
Except for the multiple times where he's like, guys, you sure they could do this? I don't think they could do this. I bet they're lost. Oh no, no, they're not dead. I'm gonna fight you because you don't care enough. But yet he didn't care enough.
Luminara was being generous.
Oh my gosh, I didn't like he didn't deserve her generosity in that moment because he basically berated her this entire time like a toddler. Final thoughts for this episode. I always love to see Ahsoka, especially when she's making Gloomy look like an ill-tempered Padawan and she is the master. And I would watch an entire series of just badass Barriss and awesome Ahsoka on bomb.com. And the highlight was definitely watching that middle management droid get his head blown off.
Oh yeah, icing on the cake of the episode.
What'd you think of this episode?
I liked it. Again, it was more good Clone Wars battle action. It introduces Luminara and Barriss, and no spoilers, Barriss is a character in Star Wars that has a very long and interesting story similar to Ahsoka's, and you're going to get to see all of that.
I'm happy about that. I want to see more badass Barriss. I actually made that note here. I like the way that she's kind of like Ahsoka's yin and the yang. They're very much of the different sides of the spectrum without venturing into like dark side tendencies.
Right.
As of right now anyways, because Ahsoka is learning that separation a little bit more than Gloomy ever has. I don't even think Gloomy's teaching it, but Ahsoka's learning it just through the other Jedi that she's subjected to.
They made a pretty good little team together. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I would watch this team up all day, every day. So thank you, Luminara, for your weird plot suggestion. Totally worked. Because I got to see Ahsoka shine without Gloomy going, did you do that right? Did you do that right? Is that right? Are you sure? Get your rations, charge your phones.
Here's my issue with the super tanks. In a galaxy where almost everything fucking flies or hovers with the exception of walkers, like even the other large tanks fly and hover, these ones didn't. So they just died by gravity. Another bridge gets knocked out and boom, they're done. I just like, why does everything hover except these?
Why put that much energy into the shielding if you're not even going to make it fly? Do you think that they sacrificed like the engine for that floaty feature? Do you think they sacrificed that for the shielding?
I couldn't really tell if they were hovering low to the ground or what, but it just seems silly to me that they got defeated by gravity. It's supposed to be. I was like, didn't anyone think of that? Or at least be like, lesson 1, new combat. Well, I guess it's the droids. But like, don't go over any bridges. Fire from your position or some shit. I don't know. Not a bridge that size, which, like, again, we keep running into these gigantic fucking bridges in Star Wars, in the Clone Wars.
They're like, can you just ever build anything that's not over a giant cavern?
I also like that Ahsoka did not hesitate 1 second when it came to the idea that we have to use the super tank to destroy the reactor. We will probably die in the process. Didn't hesitate. Well, neither did Barriss, for that matter. They just fucking did the job.
The only problem here was Gloomy.
Yes.
3 women, 1 man. No patience.
I also like that Ahsoka learned a little gadgetry from Anakin, because that gets lost in the noise a lot, that he is a tech guy and he can in fact build things like droids and pod racers.
He definitely reads ADHD for me, because he has a lot of hyperfocus, a lot of emotional regulation issues. Then you add in the ability that he can just naturally pick up things like a natural pilot, natural tinkerer with the tech. He's got a natural thing for the Force. And he just, whatever he applies himself to, it's all or nothing. And he's very fly by the seat of your pants, adapt to the moment. And so even though Gloomy annoys the piss out of me, he also attacks me a lot with a lot of the things that he does. So it's like, if he had a nicer personality, this guy would be unstoppable. Instead, he has a horrible personality and becomes unstoppable until his son grows up and kills him. Spoiler.
All right, that's another Clone Wars in the bag. If the next episode's called Weapons Factory 2, I'm going to be pissed.
Electric Boogaloo.
Okay, next up, Buffy Season 2, Episode 6, Halloween. And I couldn't really make much of a prediction with this one, because it's pretty open-ended, but I made one anyway. My prediction is somebody is going to get a pumpkin on their head or hit with a pumpkin, and the opening scene is in Pop's pumpkin patch, and it happens immediately. So well done me.
We were good with the predictions this time around.
Bang on. And Buffy's fighting this vampire, and there's another vampire off in the bushes, and he's got like a 90s camcorder, and of course the battery's fucking low. So he's recording the fight, and I'm like, oh, they're getting smart. They're studying Buffy's moves here.
They have novelizations of some of the episodes, and they put them into little chronicles like the Xander Files or the Angel, I don't remember what they're called, but it's like the Angel Chronicles and like the Cordelia Chase Chronicles. So they actually have novelizations of some of the episodes, and I have a bunch of them, and this episode is actually one of them.
Oh, interesting.
So it gives extra insight into the plot, because of course reading a lot of words, there's a lot of space for a lot more detail to be added in, so it's interesting the take that the novelization takes on it.
Buffy, of course, wins the fight and stakes the vampire with the 2 days till Halloween sign, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Over at the Bronze, I just assume it's the Bronze.
It's the Bronze.
There was some kind of like Alice in Chains or Soundgarden playing in the background. I had another 90s music flashback. It was very, mournful and melancholic. Angel's waiting for Buffy, and Cordelia helps herself to a chair and sits down. It seems like she's innocently chatting. Buffy walks in. She's all roughed up from her fight. She's got straw in her hair, and she sees him and she tries to bail, but Angel sees her and runs over.
Angel has the most customer service laugh right before he notices Buffy. She's just like, ha ha ha, joke, joke, joke. And Angel's like, ha, ha, ha. Hey, it's Buffy. And then just like heads over. He's like,
oh, thank God.
He's definitely not interested. There's nothing to show that he's interested, but she's basically drooling on him. So
Cordelia had the insult of the episode. Your hair screams street urchin. Can always count on her for a nice compliment.
Yep, I do love Cordelia.
And Buffy once again laments her fate as a slayer, never to have a normal life, and she leaves the Bronze. And Cordelia slides right up to Angel with a cappuccino, and now it doesn't feel so innocent. I'm like, okay, Cordelia's on the prowl.
Yep.
At the high school, Principal Quark / Snyder. I love this because you're currently doing a Deep Space Nine rewatch, and so we're arm and shimmering left and right here.
I'm so for it. This guy's so good.
He's drafting volunteers to take kids trick-or-treating, and he press gangs all 3 of the gang into it. Willow and Xander are caught up in it too, and costumes are mandatory.
So, volunteering, I love Principal Quark's definition of what volunteering means.
Voluntelling.
He tells her, he's like, oh, look, a juvenile delinquent. Here's a group of children I'm going to leave with you unsupervised.
Yeah, makes sense.
And Xander and Willow are shocked when he hands them pens too, and it's like they practically lined up behind Buffy to sign up. The fact that you guys didn't just do a Flinn exit, which really would have saved you guys here, you guys could have just been like, I'll see you in the common area, and just like skated off to the left. They could have avoided this entire thing altogether.
We did a Flinn exit back before Flynn's were ever a thing in high school. One of the teachers who was the father of a friend, nice guy, it was like end of the year, we did our exams, we're all just kind of hanging around. And he's like, boys, come help me move all these desks and stuff. And we're like, oh, fuck, all right, we got roped into it. So he goes down the hall, and one of us does the point to the side door, and then there was like 6 of us, we all fucking escaped, and we just left them high and dry. I guarantee he turned around, and he's like, you little fuckers, like he would have said something like that. So yeah, they failed to do a Flynn exit. Apparently Halloween is really quiet for undead monsters. The obvious I went into expecting is like, well, Halloween's going to be ape shit with monsters or something. Hellmouth's going to puke up everywhere. No, apparently it's a quiet, they don't really explain why, but it's a quiet night on Halloween.
They do kind of allude to it because Halloween gets repeated a couple of times throughout the series. We will see Halloween-themed episodes crop up again, and they do kind of get it a little bit into the lore, but essentially, it's not really a spoiler. Vampires and creatures of the night think it's tacky and just kind of shy away from it.
Yeah, I would buy that. Vampires especially, it's too good. They're too good for that nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a note here about the pop machine Xander was bashing. That thing was fucking old, even for the 90s. That was like a 70s relic.
Right, 60 cents for a can of pop. What even?
I know, right? We had it so good and we didn't even know it.
Yeah, now it's like, what, $2? It's the going rate, I think? For a can, $1.50?
I don't know, yeah, it's something like that. I just assumed they're up like $12 or something. So this fellow Larry comes along and he asks Xander if Buffy's available. He seems interested, and Xander gets all possessive and defensive, and he starts a fight he can't finish, but Buffy steps in and runs Larry off pretty quick. Xander is very emasculated, but Buffy still snags his Diet Dr. Pepper, so, good deal for her.
Is this like a guy code thing? Like, was this ever actually a thing? If one of your girlfriends came and beat up a guy who was picking on you, would that have insulted you? Was that just a generational thing that I missed? I'm
sure there was a time in my life where I would have taken it poorly, but one of my short-lived college exes, as you know, is my friend Angel, and she's 5'10" and takes shit off nobody. So if someone was messing with me and she came in and beat the shit out of the time while we were dating, I would have been cool with it. I think most men would, and I'm sure myself at a young age probably would have too, because it was the 90s and we were all fucking idiots. Willow has another fantastic quote: "Boys are so fragile." It's so true.
So true.
High school boys are very fragile.
Yeah.
Willow assures Buffy that Cordelia isn't Angel's type. He would never fall for her act, which I believe. But they come up with a caper to look at Giles' personal files to see what they can dig up about Angel, and I feel like, oh, this is a dangerous road to go down.
So these things are the Watcher's diaries. Essentially, they are the diaries of Watchers of past Slayers. I get maybe why Giles's would probably be off limits to Buffy, but why are all the old ones off limits? Why can't the Slayer read the old Watcher's diaries?
Because then he'd be out of a job.
I just don't get it. It just seems like there's such like a compartmentalization of information that Buffy's not allowed to have. It just seems, I don't know, seems weird.
I've been calling them not the Watcher diaries, I've been calling them the Giles files. Come on.
Files?
It's so obvious. Tonight on the Giles files, we're going to have a nice scone and possibly kill a demon.
I don't know what Buffy said, but I think she had a good patrol.
Can I bum a ride? My Citroen's dead.
Okay.
Buffy is in participating in this caper with Willow. She's like crossing another line with the Watcher. Like she lied to him in the last episode. Now she's trying to go behind him. She's distracting him, trying to wave Willow into steal the Giles files. It's just dishonest, another dishonest thing with who's supposed to be your partner and all this.
Lies to him again about Jenny.
Oh right, yeah. Was it Miss Calendar that she said?
Yeah, she's like, Miss Calendar called you a babe.
Yeah, what a distraction technique, but he loved that. He's like, oh.
Yeah, Willow's like, shame on you, like judgment looks from the other room, like, how low can you go? Why would you do that? Like, but I mean, it's probably not far off anyways from something she'd probably say. That's what I thought.
I felt like that, probably wasn't that harmful a lie, but yeah, still, it was manipulative, and it was, Giles has feelings, come on. Giles reveals that one of his relaxing hobbies is, I think it was cross-referencing. Is what he said, right?
Cross-referencing, which is something that you can see he's doing later in this episode.
Oh yeah, I made a note of that. So they succeed in getting the book, and they take it to the bathroom for a read, and they see pictures of like old Victorian times, and Buffy seems rather enamored with it, because it would be more, she feels like it would connect her more to Angel and all that. Willow says she prefers the ability to vote, or she will when she can, rather than live in Victorian times. Excellent point, Willow.
I also prefer the time of antibiotics and voting.
Willow and Buffy try to convince Cordelia, who barges into the bathroom, that Angel is a vampire, but she's not buying it. Cordelia is undeterred.
Nope. She's definitely not deterred. There's a sign, there's a poster up in the bathroom, and it says, there are no heroes in this locker room. And if we think about it, there's been a lot of death and injuries in the locker rooms. Just seems like a weird poster to put up considering how many fatalities we've had just up to this point alone in the locker rooms.
They might as well paint the floor red in the locker room and just get it over with.
Yeah, essentially.
Cordelia gets a great line in this episode. When it comes to dating, I'm the slayer.
Cordelia's iconic. So iconic.
So the gang's got to get costumes, so they go down to this new store, and Willow picks up a ghost costume, but Buffy's like, come on, it's Halloween, sex it up.
She really takes the Mean Girls approach to Halloween.
Xander's there, of course. Buffy is entranced by a big poofy dress that looks like the one Kaylee wore in Firefly. The salesman, Ethan, apparently is his name, gives her a deal. He's quite insistent upon it, and Buffy is way too into this dress. I thought it was like a cursed item or something at first. I was like, is this dress like hypnotizing Buffy?
It might on some level, honestly. Only because Ethan would want the things in his store, even the more expensive items, to be bought. So he would have to have some sort of lure on them, because she kind of like, I know that she was also just really drawn to this time period and saw the dress, but what are the chances of a full costumey, I wouldn't call it authentic by any stretch of the imagination, Victorian dress or 18th century dress just happened to be in the store, and just one, and just in her size? I don't know. That felt like magic hanky-panky stuff to me.
Over at what I have written down as the Vampire Hotel, generic warehouse, hideout number, whatever, sure enough, Spike is watching the fight footage. I tell you, I want some of whatever Drusilla is on, because she is out there, man. She foretells that someone new is coming to be here for Halloween. She foretells it. The salesman is like a crazy ass demon worshiper, rubs blood on his fucking eyelids like a psycho. And he's praying to a two-headed statue. At Buffy's house, she's all Victorianed up. She's all excited about it. Willow comes out of the bathroom a little dolled up, shall we say?
What is Willow's costume?
90s hooker?
Even in Mean Girls, when they were like, it's a time to dress slutty AF, it still had a theme. Like, I'm a mouse. Duh. It was all an animal theme with lingerie. This is just, I'm going out to my first club.
Yeah, very much just girl at a 90s bar vibe.
Which, I mean, she looks fantastic. People need to stop calling her, like, a nerd or anything like that. Like, she's not that nerds can't be hot. I mean, hey, look who I'm talking to right now. But yeah, you.
Oh my.
I don't think this girl would have been considered a nerd if she was at my school.
Xander shows up in his costume dressed as a soldier, or as I've noted it down, GI No. You laughed so hard your mic gave out there.
GI No. Oh, dear.
Willow opts for the ghost costume, but she's totally got the hooker outfit on underneath. Absolutely.
Yep.
At the school, Snyder gives Buffy her kids. No need to speak to them. They don't need your influence.
Why aren't the kids being taken out by their parents? Is this a thing? Did they ever do this? Have you ever seen anything like this?
No.
I've never heard of anything like this. I've never seen anything like this. I was like, does this actually happen anywhere where the parents are all like, oh, I don't want to make childhood memories with my kid. I'm just going to dress them up in a cheap costume and send them up. Who am I kidding?
In the mid-90s, we were way too busy throwing eggs and toilet paper at shit to be bothered taking kids out trick-or-treating. I mean, come on. Yeah, this is an unrealistic portrayal of 90s. Unless this was some weird thing they did in the States. But no, I've never done that. Never heard of it.
No.
I would have said no if they asked me. The kids are dressed like apparently a hot dog, a sad bunny, and like a pagan druid or something. Larry does some walk-by mocking of Xander. Seth Green appears with the worst mustache of the 90s, and he's questioned by Cordelia about where the hell her date is. Do we ever circle back around to that missing? He's in the band, right?
Yeah, he's
Devin.
just a flake. It's just a flake
Okay.
thingy. It's not because he actually goes missing. We do see him later.
Okay, it seemed a little extraneous to the story, but alright. Seth Green bumps into Ghost Willow, ships passing in the night. Xander pep talks his group. Somehow they gave him like 5 kids.
Yeah. Who would ever give children to Xander to supervise? Xander needs supervision. Xander can't be left unsupervised. Why did they think that... Whatever.
Snyder must be getting some kind of fucking kickback from the PTA or something. There's some kind of scam going on here. I don't see him. Anyway. Apparently out trick-or-treating, I think it was Mrs. Davis was her name. She's giving out fucking toothbrushes. I'd be like, get the eggs.
What was the worst thing you ever got while trick-or-treating growing up? Did you guys, anything really bad?
Nothing really bad. We would get, the odd apple or whatever. No razor blades, even though it was the 80s. But no, I mean, some candy was more desirable than other. It was more about the ones that gave out the good stuff. You're like, she's got the full Snickers or whatever. But nothing really bad. I don't think we ever got a toothbrush or, literature about Jesus or anything like that.
I got dental floss once.
You see, I could see that be helpful. A night of eating toffee.
Right? And I love that toffee. That toffee that no one likes.
Oh, the
I
cheap
love
stuff?
that toffee.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. That stuff is so good. I don't even know if I can have it, but I will.
Oh, it would pull all my fillings out now for sure.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Bloody Eyeballs, the demon priest, he's still on hold with his creepy Two-Face statue. I heard the name Yanis, not surprising. A Two-Face god. Seems like a good little plot tie-in for what's about to happen. So he completes his spell, and a strange wind sweeps through the town, and one of the kids fucking anamorphs into a little devil with the costume he was wearing. He looks like a miniature, like fucking the devil from Legend. He goes apeshit.
Starts choking this old lady. She's like, oh, not a candy. She gets throttled by a kid. That is the last year that she trick-or-treated. Guaranteed. She never opened her door again. She went no contact with her grandkids. She just didn't want to deal with it anymore.
She's the one who started putting razor blades in the apples. You fucking chew on this, you little shits.
She gave out toothbrushes for sure every year after that so that no one would ever come by her house again.
Now, it took me a couple minutes to figure out or to catch up with what was happening here. Because I wrote down Willow faints, but of course, she dropped dead because she became a ghost. They're becoming their costumes. And now Xander has a fucking real machine gun. And, he's brandishing it about. He's all a confident soldier now. And there's kids screaming. I'm like, oh yeah, this looks great. This age is great. There's a man with a machine gun and kids are screaming in the background. Like, this is not a good look right now.
I have seen this episode more times than I should ever have seen this episode. So I knew this twist was coming. So it's interesting to hear your perspective about seeing it for the first time. Like, how obvious is this as somebody who didn't grow up watching this?
Willow is a real ghost now, apparently a sexy, skanky ghost. Xander has no memory. Willow has no physical form. Now, I made a short list of, if this happened to me, of what I would have become in past Halloweens.
Interesting.
So do you have any notable costumes where, if this spell had happened, what would you have turned into?
Oh, please go first so that I can have a second to think.
Well, one would have been, when I was a kid, shitty vampire. Very, black coat, alley-dwelling Nosferatu vampire. Later on in adult life, I would have become Jack Sparrow.
Ooh, that would have been a good one.
I was drunk as shit and loose in the city. I don't think anyone would have noticed. It just would have been the same thing. There's this drunken pirate running around Pizza Corner. I would have been Snake Eyes, Batman, Skeletor, and Anakin Skywalker.
Oh my gosh, Skeletor, that would have been so funny.
It could have been like, what the fuck is wrong with my face? Yeah!
I have skin!
So those are a few of mine.
Who would I wanted to have been? I go with them kind of with Xena, Warrior Princess. That would have been a good one.
They mentioned that in this episode. I think at one point Will said something like, couldn't she have turned into Xena?
I am thinking about the costumes that I wore when I was younger and which ones I would have to dress up as. I dressed up as Betty Boop once. That would have been really funny. I think I would have been just really annoying the entire time. Boop, boop, be-doo, oop. Like, every time a vampire's coming near me, that's my screaming voice. Oh, no! I also did a vampire once. It wasn't good. And I did princess and brides a lot. Not princess bride, but princesses and brides.
Now, imagine if this spell got cast when we were at Starhaven's Halloween party a couple years ago when we all went as vampires, like What We Do in the Shadows vampires. I would have become Nandor or something, and Raptor would have become Vlad from the movie. I think Artemis was a werewolf or something. Yeah, you had the vampire face, so we all would have just turned into vampires that night.
And gotten kicked out of McDonald's for different reasons, because they kicked us out of McDonald's that night just because we creeped them out, because I had full Buffy the Vampire style vamp face walking in after midnight to the McDonald's.
Well, they find Buffy, and of course she's now a Victorian lady.
What is this accent?
I had that exact note. I'm like, what is this accent? Which accent even is it? What are we doing here?
I don't know what Buffy was going for. It's like British except not. It's proper American, like fancy upper. I don't even know.
It veered around. And then I had the horrible thought that it just occurred to me somewhere out there, Cordelia is probably an actual fucking cat. Anyway, the three of them retreat to Buffy's house. Mom's out of town again. Apparently she's doing
Where's her mother?
She's like flying a plane full of weed from Mexico or something. Like she's got some shit going on.
She's got a pilot's license.
She's out somewhere cooking meth like Walter White or some shit. The demon kids are laying siege to the entire neighborhood, and Xander's defending the front door, and he literally fires his fucking machine gun out the front door window at kids. Again, great look. Cordelia is in fact not a cat, but apparently is being chased by Swamp Thing. Confident soldier Xander saves her, drags her inside. Cordelia is now going to get turned on by confident soldier Xander, isn't she? And I'm like, oh god.
I don't really like the portrayal of noble women in this episode. From what I understand, noble women were supposed to be quite educated and used to managing entire households of staff and parties. They weren't just whiny babies who just freak out. I mean, I guess, yes, this woman is out of her element in a different century and doesn't even know what a car is, but this whole portrayal really annoyed me this entire episode, which I guess was the point.
Willow desperately tries to keep it all together, explaining as best she can as people show up. Angel shows up too. The monsters are loose in the street. Spike's walking around wearing his normal vampire face. He's getting into Halloween. The gang barricades themselves into Buffy's house with a few coffee tables and shit. The photos around the house are making them confused as their brains are clearly trying to make them remember who they are. At the library, Giles is engaged in some hot cross-referencing action when Willow goes through the wall and he fucking loses his shit. It was so good.
The physical comedy in this episode is so good, and Giles is just absolute chef's kiss.
All this cross-referencing, like, just on the floor. A vampire jumps out of the pantry or something and Angel shouts, "Get me a steak."
I have a serious question. This person is dressed up like what they think a vampire would look like, meaning this is a real person, not a vampire.
Right.
And Angel was going to just casually stake him?
Yeah, way to panic in the moment.
He would not have been, if he was an actual vampire, he would not have been able to get in that house.
That's true, yeah. Great
So
point.
obviously this was not a real vampire. And Angel's like, hold up, get me a steak, I'm about to commit some murder.
It's like, even if it was a real vampire, like, Angel would probably be able to easily incapacitate it or overpower it, but he, like, panics. He's like, fucking, give me a hacksaw, we gotta kill this guy. Like, fuck. Think for a second, man. Buffy sees Angel's vampire face during the fight and she freaks out and runs. Because she's just a girl, she's all helpless.
Help me.
Giles asks Willow, "You're a ghost of what exactly?" Like, we're trying to figure that out too, Giles.
Yeah, don't think about it too much. Don't think about it too much, man.
They realize Cordelia did not change into a cat because she got her costume somewhere else. So they make the connection that the costumes bought at Ethan's Creepy Costume Co. is the problem.
Did you see the look on Giles's face when she said Ethan's? She's like, we got it at a place Ethan's, and just Giles' face drops like a stone, and we're like, uh-oh.
Something's up. Spike enlists the aid of the demon kids to help catch Buffy, turns them loose. She is briefly accosted by a pirate with actual scurvy and runs off.
Oh, Larry's having a bad night.
Giles investigates the store, which must be like that murder barn you guys go to, and I feel like it must have a similar vibe.
Especially with the murder.
Actual murder.
Actual murder.
They find the statue of Yanis, the two-faced god, which is the source of the spell, of course. The culty fellow Ethan appears, and Giles orders Willow out, and there's like his tone brooks no argument as she leaves. Ethan says, "Hello, Ripper," and I'm like, hello, what? Hold on.
Willow ruffles the curtain as she leaves. As someone who isn't supposed to be touching anything, that was just a continuity error that's been pointed out, that she actually ruffles the curtain after she walks through walls.
The pirate tries to pillage Buffy, but G.I. No leaps out and kicks some ass. Angel and Cordelia show up too. G.I. No!
Bottom massage. Ew.
Mr. Bottom Massage Machine, go!
More like...
Cordelia tells the scared Buffy that Angel's a good vampire. Xander wins the fight, which is not something you can say often. Angel says, "Find an open warehouse," and I imagine these are like a dime a dozen in this town. It's just warehouses lying open everywhere. Spike and the Monster Squad are in hot pursuit. It turns out Ethan and Giles are old mates. He accuses him of having a nice little act going on here, but he knows the truth about him. Oh boy, Giles has got a dark past apparently. So what is Giles' secret? Ethan, what do I get? Giles, you get to live. And then fucking James Bonds his ass. Like, what the hell? And then I was like, is Giles dressed up as a British spy? Did he become his costume? Did he turn into James Bond? Sure enough, there's a free warehouse. The Monster Squad is at the gates. These little demon kids, like the prosthetics and the makeup, really good. Like they were very scary. It was really good makeup and shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Spike is just very calmly letting his goons do the work. He's like not breaking a sweat at all. Spike has Buffy dead to rights, but Giles breaks the statue and the spell. Buffy pops up. "Hi, honey, I'm home," and she just proceeds to kick ass. Fucking lays Spike out. Spike retreats.
Yeah, she had all those pent-up feelings of anger, and she was just like, that's it, I'm out, this is gonna happen.
It's go time.
And Giles is just proving that you can never trust the quiet ones.
Right. Everyone goes back to normal. Willow has to be running back from where her body fell. It's like Willow's gone all right. She's like 6 blocks away. Willow wakes up, keeps the ghost costume off. She probably caused a few accidents on the way. Seth Green sees her in his van, and he's like, "Who is that girl?" Now he's more in love than ever. Angel assures Buffy the noble women of his time were all very dull. My next question, again, where is Buffy's mother as she starts making out with this older man in her bedroom?
Yeah. And by older man, it's like 200 and...
By several centuries.
Yeah, like bicentennial difference between them.
Giles goes back to the empty Ethan's costume store. At least I assume that's where he went. I guess he didn't kill him. There's a note. Be seeing you. And then the episode ends abruptly. So a really nice cliffhanger here with big questions about, Mr. Quiet cross-referencing McScone has got some kind of... I mean, you don't get the Ripper name for nothing. Like, either he's a world champion farter, or he's killed some motherfuckers. We're going to find out. I'm looking forward to this. This is interesting.
How did Ethan clear out his entire place overnight while bleeding internally? Because he didn't walk away from that fight unscathed.
Maybe all the costumes are magically created or something, all evaporated. Sure, that's it.
Bippity boppity boo.
I'll be seeing you soon.
Put it together, what have you got?
Several episodes worth of plot.
Stay tuned.
So Giles and Angel's Past will give us many episodes of fun, I'm sure. I did like this episode. It was a little silly, but it was a very fun episode. And I used the Monster Squad thing earlier as a joke, but it did sort of have that feel. If I don't know if you ever seen the 80s movie Monster Squad. But it's very silly, but there's still that edge of Halloween scariness, like the demon kids look scary in the dark and there's monsters and stuff. So it felt very Halloween-y was the best way I could describe it. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But the real payoff is the teaser into Giles' past. Like, we sort of assume Angel's going to have some terrible checkered past, but Giles?
Gasp. I never.
Well, that was a fun Halloween episode. It's good to know that there'll be more and that we might be able to return to this and see what as the holiday evolves through the show. I'm looking forward to that.
I really enjoy this episode. I like all of the Halloween episodes. They do have their own kind of magic to them because the show, you get the vibes that the show is very aware of itself and will take that time to poke fun at itself. And I do enjoy that aspect of it, especially during the campier seasons and episodes.
If you're going to get like silly with the show, like Halloween and Christmas episodes are the ways to do it. That's where you can bend the rules and have a little bit of extra fun.
Yeah. What do you think Ripper has in his past?
Well, I mean, obviously the first thing pops in your head is Jack the Ripper, so you're like, is Giles immortal or something? Well, I don't think so. That's not my guess, but he probably had to kill somebody or some buddies for probably a greater good thing, but I imagine he had to do something terrible for a good cause, and he's got some secrets. But I don't know. I don't really have a solid guess yet, and they're going to have to dribble out a little bit more information, but he certainly got my attention. Well, that's it from us. We will return next week with more geeky reviews, so thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Keep fit and have fun.